What's up, guys? This is the Comatose Society podcast. I am otherwise on another channel known as the Blunt Atheist, and I am here talking to Sid Jones.
What's up, bro?
What's up?
Hopefully things are well over where you're at.
They are. How about yourself?
Oh, dude, I have no complaints. If I did, nobody would listen anyway.
For real? Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. So you invited me onto your channel. We've been talking about this for a while. We had a mishap last week.
For sure.
Let's get into it, man. So what got you involved in this whole thing and doing what you do?
Well, my main channel, the Blunt Atheist, I've had that for a while. That I started because I was watching YouTube. I was interested in what people were doing. I guess that started out as I was doing that to connect with other juggalos. Because I found there was a pretty big juggalo YouTube presence. I mean, that far back, because I had started that YouTube, 8-9 years ago, back when, things were really hopping back then.
Yeah.
I mean,
man. That's one of the things I wanted to bring up. Like, times have changed, man.
Oh, yeah.
Not only have changed, but like times have, and we haven't changed well with it either.
No.
Like, people have a really hard time adapting, man. And the thing is, the social media has catered to that. Rather than try and take people away from like themselves and to communicate with others, they've made it about where you can become a rock star. About shit like that, where it's like now you get to post all this shit, and it's really kind of like made it so that way you put yourself on a higher pedestal than what you really deserve.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I mean, it does. You're right. I mean, it unfortunately not only does the internet like give a voice to somebody that's probably worth a shit to give it to, but it gives it to just the average fucking moron to spew whatever vitriol and hate and insipid shit they can spew out too.
Well, the problem that I've got is like you've got vegans that are like beating on their drums. And the thing is, now there's pages where now they can go and collide with each other instead of looking at the opposite perspective. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that with the Juggalo community. It's like that with punk rockers. It's like that with everybody else. You've got the conservatives that are like that, the liberals that are like that. Instead of bringing your opinions to the opposing side, you keep it on your side of the fence and just bicker about what's going on the other side instead of doing something about it and saying, hey, here's this opinion, here's this fact, and try and get people to at least be a little more open-minded. People have a hard time reading books these days. They'd rather watch Real Housewives.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah, I get that. I get that perspective, and yeah, it's sad how you have these communities and whatever they support and however they got built, and yeah, and there's this infighting right within it, and it's just, yeah, I mean, I think it's sad, and I mean, like, I can't take myself. It's like, like, I've had talks with friends and stuff, and some of them, they get down on me for associating myself with certain stuff, and it's like being a juggalo or being a stoner or being an atheist, and it's like, well, you know what, I'm not a sheep though. Like, I didn't conform into being those things. I chose to become a part of those things, and I really wish people could learn the difference.
The thing that who have read see the opposite side. When I was a kid, I grew up Catholic, grew up extremely religious. And the thing that bothered me, man, was that I never got to see the devil's perspective. I'm like, I keep hearing about the devil is bad, but like, where's his story? And as soon as I asked that question, I knew religion wasn't right for me. Albert Einstein said it, man. It was my senior quote. The most important thing is not to stop questioning. And
Yeah.
George Carlin reached the age of reason. That's where religion really starts to become a part of it, because it's something you've been taught and bred into you, and you've never gotten another perspective of it, another opposing side. And the thing is, like, when people are like, oh, just read the Bible and all your answers will be there. I'm like, no, it won't. You can get those same answers from an autobiography, from a self-help book. You can get all that shit in other forms of literature that people don't deal with if they read the Bible. It's like the only book that exists. And I'm like, see, this is where narrow minds come from. It's not that everyone who goes to church on Sunday is a good person. They're some of the most judgmental people you'll ever meet, even though Christ said, thou shalt not judge.
Oh, oh, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like with me, and I've said it before, I'm an agnostic, which basically means I don't care if there's something on the other side. If there is, I'll atone for what I've done and I'll be able to stand up to it. Because if I'm able to oppose the people here on earth, you know, including supervisors, bosses, my whole life, they, you know, I'm just like, I'll go head to head with you. You're a human being, you know, and it's the perfect analogy for, you know, God is dead from, you know, Friedrich Nietzsche with Thus Spoke Zarathustra. And I was doing all that stuff before I even read that book. So I'm basically just like, yeah, no, I understand it completely. I get this philosophy. Most people don't. They don't have the gall, the balls, or the fortitude to speak up against somebody higher up than them, and instead treating them as they are. They're not bulletproof, and there's nothing that separates them from me other than a name tag, a position, and an increased paycheck. And if people had that sort of toleration for themselves to be like, yeah, look, listen, I'm worth more than this. I'm not going to take this shit from you. We would see a whole nother generation of people, instead of being whiny and running to their safe spaces, they would be standing up against not even just these opposers through Facebook and social media, but in their personal lives. How can you act that way, be an online bully, a keyboard badass, and not even have the fortitude to talk to your neighbor, talk to anybody about how you truly feel, instead of saying, no, I don't believe this, and just because I work it doesn't mean I have to be decent to you. If people walked around like that a little more, we would have more sufficiency.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's honestly, that's one thing I've always said. I mean, like, whenever I've had conversations with friends or what you may have it, like, I've always told people, like, it's this whole, like, everybody wants to beat around the bush and everybody wants to sugarcoat shit. And I've always told people, man, I'm Willy Wonka. I ain't down the sugarcoat shit. Like, if you're gonna deal with me, you're gonna get the blunt, honest truth, whether or not you like it or not. I think if everybody in the world could just be more blunt, yeah, would some more people's feelings get hurt once in a while? Yeah, but at least the straightforwardness, and at least, you know, what needed to get out for people to get past shit quicker would get out. Yeah, I get bluntness isn't for everybody, but I just think as
if people would be more blunt, nobody would be getting participation trophies. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you were told
exactly.
If you were told the hard facts growing up, like, I don't have the answers. If you of what happens when we die, I just know that we die. It's probably gonna suck, but we don't have to die tomorrow. And the thing that our parents should have taught us, instead of warming it up in the hands of God, is that it is up to you. You have to live with you every single day of your life. Your relationship tomorrow could end. You living with your parents could end. No matter what your position is, you wake up with you, you go to bed with you, you walk your every single day with you. You don't get a break from you. If you don't like who you are and you can't handle how other people are, and you have no idea how to maintain yourself in a world like this, you're going to get eaten alive, which is the best thing that could possibly happen to you, and you get taken off of the landscape. This is what really affects me when it comes to the politicizing of everything somebody does. It is your choice. You know, you've read the Satanic Bible, I'm sure. You know,
yeah, I have.
Choice is your God. You know, you have to live day by day with you. You might as well do what makes you happy, because tomorrow you might not be here for whatever circumstance, under whatever you have to suffer through. It is you and you alone, not your better half. They're not with you all the time. You're out at work. They're out at work. You're not with each other 24/7. You individually are with yourself 24/7. You have to live with that. And whatever decisions you make, you have to be prepared to answer to the consequences, good or bad. Now, people take consequences as a bad thing. Consequences is something that you have to deal with when you make a choice. It is the aftermath of your choice, and your choice may create chaos. your choice and the things that you do could impact 5, 6, 7 other people. And with social media, you have to realize that's huge. Now it's not even just your choice that you're making for yourself, but when you post these pictures, you have to expect a reaction. You know, it was that way before social media. Darby Crash said it, you know, when you do stuff like that, you have to expect a reaction. He liked getting a reaction from people. That was his thing. I love getting a reaction from people. When I got on here, I was a nobody. And then suddenly I'm up, you know, 100 subscribers, 150 subscribers. Next thing you know, I'm jumping up. And then by the time I quit YouTube, I had lost a ton of subscribers, which is fine. And then I started getting a new breed when I came back after Trump got elected. Because as much as I don't agree with Trump and the right wing, I still think that the liberals are trash, but you can't have that kind of opinion because if you talk bad about Barack Obama, you were a conservative. If you talk good about him, you were a Democrat. But you weren't an individual. They had to group you. In order to group you, it would be easier for them to put a label on you and shove you to the wayside so that way they knew how to deal with you and not have to ask questions. That's the problem these days, is that everybody likes to make assumptions, stay in their own safe space, which is, it's funny. There's physical safe spaces in colleges and universities when really everybody lives in their own safe space because they don't want to see what's on the other side of that realm. They don't want to hear the opposite opinion. They don't want to see or hear opposing views or anything like that.
Oh yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, I was gonna say like myself, you know, I mean, like okay, yeah, myself, I ascribe myself to being atheist. I do so because I fit the definition. I am a person that I don't believe in any god or goddesses. But what I wanted to say, one thing I touched on with what you said is like when I did become that way, one thing I learned kind of I guess in the atheist camp, so to say, that I learned from it though is, you know, in my like, you know, my religious days, you know, I was kind of a lost person. I really didn't know how to look at life and everything. And to be honest, I was piss scared to death. Now as an atheist, I'm not scared to death. And one thing that an atheist told me that is always reflected with me since to this day is, you know, with any type of religion, I can pick on more than just Christianity with this. It's the same in Islam or Hinduism or anything like that. You kind of have this prefabrication of, well, you're gonna die and you're gonna go to this good or bad place. So people like, you know, they really don't ascribe themselves really to really find their own meaning to life. They just want the prepackaged one. And what I found with atheism is, you know, somebody told me, well, okay, now that in your mind there is no God, there is no devil, there is no heaven or hell, now you have to find a reason and meaning in this life for yourself. And after discovering atheism, which, yeah, like what you touched on, I was a LaVeyan Satanist back when I was 18. A big part of that was I was really into Marilyn Manson. Well, anybody knows Marilyn Manson knows Anton LaVey, who is the founder of the Church of Satan and LaVeyan Satanism. So at one point, yeah, I was LaVeyan Satanist. That's what I was until I became atheism. And I agree with you. I still practice some of the tenets of Satanism still to this day. But one thing that I liked that I found through atheism was I did find a meaning for my own life. And I really do like, now do you would I say you would necessarily need to become like agnostic like you or atheist like me to do that? No, but I really wish more people could have that self-discovery and find a meaning for your, like I'm saying this to anybody watching and anybody that may watch this, find a reason to live for yourself. Like Sid Jones is saying, like your parents, they could die. Your girlfriend, boyfriend, they could die. Find a reason for you. And best of all, love you. Find a way to love you.
And that's what I was telling, you know, I was telling my girl, you know, I told her, I said, listen, what you decide to do is what you decide to do. You have to wake up every morning with that decision that you made 5 years ago. And you're going to have to wake up one day to the decision that you make 5 years from now. So to repeat the same mistake isn't repeating the same mistake. It's one, making a mistake. The second time it's a choice. You know, we talked about this and she was talking to me about, you know, she's giving me shit about my tattoo, you know, my Notorious Lars tattoo. And I told her, I said, it's what I want. It's what makes me happy. When I saw it, I knew I had to have it. Did I know I would make waves? I have a history of making waves with people. I try and impact people the way people have impacted me. There's people that I've met, people that have said shit to me that I'll remember for the rest of my life. And I decided that's what I wanted to do the rest of my life. You can't make a living off that. What you can do yourself, if that's what makes you happy. Is it the only thing you have to do? No, but if that's one of those things that helps you get up in the morning, fucking do it. If you can change somebody's perspective. Like I remember there's one kid, he was in a bus station. I said to him, he's like, man, I'm just sick of waiting on these buses and whatnot. I'm like, can I ask you something? He goes, sure. I'm like, do you have to wait in line at the grocery store? He says, yeah. I says, do you have to wait, in line for, seeing your favorite movie? You're waiting to go to work. You're waiting to get out of work. He's like, yeah. I'm like, waiting in traffic. He goes, yeah, I get it. It's waiting. I'm like, so what you're telling me is life is constantly waiting. He's like, yeah, I guess. And I'm like, so what are you going to do in the meantime? And you should have seen the look on his face, man. 3 a.m. This dude lifted his head off the table and went, dude, you just blew my mind. I want to know what that kid's doing these days. I want to know if that changed his perspective completely. It's that feeling where your brain pops out of your skull, flips into doing a 360 and lands back inside of it. Like, that's what I want to have happen, because there was a sermon, there was a religious sermon that had actually was talking about that. And I didn't even need the religious format. That, wow, that actually blew my mind. So what am I going to do in the meantime? The person behind me. I'm going to talk to the person up in front of me. I'm going to talk to whoever I can while I'm waiting for whatever, because that's what I want to do.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, like I've had people tell me that all the time. Like, I mean, mostly it'll be with religious conversations. It's because like if people have watched my channel or people have just talked to me, like, I mean, I've studied 12 different major religions. I studied, Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Mormonism, Scientology, Islam, some others, and I studied them quite a bit. And, that's part of the reason I'm at where I'm at now is I studied 12 theisms to basically become non-theist, because I saw the same circular logic and defaults in them all. And there's just people. Yeah, I get the same thing, dude. People talk to me and I'll sit and explain it to them from my end and stuff, and they'll be like, "Man, bro, you just blew my fucking mind, dude. Like, I never really had somebody put it to me like that." And I'm like, "Yeah, because you know what? Because your pastor's not going to tell you that. That's not what he gets paid for. He gets paid to fucking spew you the bullshit in his book that he can't prove." I was like, "So no."
Right, and it's another thing too, man. Like you even see it, Marilyn Manson impacted you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a celebrity and shit like that, but we're impacting each other every single fucking day. Whatever choice we make, that's why I'm a firm believer in chaos theory. You have a conversation with somebody, that conversation could go through 5 other people, because they're going to talk about you. They're going to talk about you to your friends and family at the next family picnic, and they're going to say, hey, listen, I'm talking to this one guy today. He's actually pretty smart. Like that one guy I was talking to. I don't know if you heard this story, but I was talking to a nuclear physicist.
I did.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that blows my mind. I would never think that I would have a conversation with a nuclear physicist ever in my life, and I wouldn't have known had I just been like, hey, man, this, that, and the other, and him saying, yeah, and him going off on his thing. There's so many people, they go off on their tangents because they're so pissed off and angry, which I think is a cure. Being angry, anger is an energy. If you use that anger and utilize it and displace it, you have no idea what you could do. And it could actually do a lot of good for yourself and somebody else. You've got these people, like these juggalos and shit like that. They claim they're not a gang. They claim that, we don't have a gang set mentality, but they say this shit all the time. You fuck with fam, you fuck with all of us, or, hey, I'm going to issue death threats, but I'm not a violent person. You need to pick one. Like, that's the thing. I've said this time and time again. We are no longer a democracy. Ever since social media, we're not an oligarchy. We are a hypocrisy. Flat out straight. Nobody wants to see the other side of the fence, and everybody wants to beat on one drum and then somehow try and do a flying leap to another on a completely different stance, but it's okay for them.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it like this. Yeah, I mean, are there some downfalls in the Juggalo community? Like, I guess I've had to put this out to people a lot recently. I guess ever since the March, whatever way you want to look at that, I'm a Juggalo for myself. You know what? I'll say it right here, right now. Fuck Joe Bruce. He ain't my goddamn leader. I ain't never been a fucking Juggalo for him. I'm a Juggalo for me. And to be fair, you know, hit him and how he's screwing up Psy, that's on him. That's not on me. You know, okay, yeah, myself, am I listening to a lot of, you know, what Magic Ninja's putting out? Yeah, because I like a lot of what they're putting out. Right now, whether or not people like it or not, I'm wearing a fucking Gmo ski shirt. I like fucking Gmo ski. Fuck what the haters think. I'm not a 17% or a fucking Twizzler. I'm not a sheep. I have my own mindset on everything. I'm a Juggalo for myself. Yeah, do I think it's sad that these Juggalos fight amongst themselves? You know, okay, that's the one thing I can agree that was kind of dumb in the whole sense of, you know, we they could all go to the march and they could all not fight for a day and all that, but then the next day they're fighting with each other. I do think that's kind of stupid. I wish, yeah, one more major impact from that could have been maybe some of them could have learned, well, hey, well, whether I want to be a 17% or a Twizzler for that one day I put it aside, well, maybe I wish they could have learned, well, maybe we could have put this shit aside more permanently.
The problem is, and it goes right back to what I was saying about social media and about the kind of, it also goes back to 2008. I got into music for my own reasons. Basically, it was personal preference. Go figure. And then I got this boy Steve of mine, and I was trying to find somebody to go to Hall of Wicked with me that year of 2008. And we had a blast, man. Like, that's how we met, was because of ICP. It was because of Hall of Wicked. I'll never take that from us. I'll never cover up my Hatchet Man tattoo. And as years went on, when Mighty Death Pop Bang Pow Boom came out and shit like that, we started noticing not only just changing the music, but a change in the fan base. And we're kind of like, man, did we dip out? Like, and we discussed the whole Hatchet Man thing. And the last conversation that we had about it was, he basically said, no, man, that's us. Like, that has nothing to do with them. That's something special to us. Despite what it symbolizes to everybody else, that's ours. Nobody can take that. You know?
Well, it's just like I wish people would do their research. Like, if you really did your research right, I don't like the theory. There's a lot of people that have this theory that like Jay and Shaggy or like Madrox and Monoxide were the ones that coined the word Juggalo. If you do your research right, Juggalo was a word floating around way before Jay and Shags popularized it.
Well, that's the thing, too, man. Like, at that point, it's like tomato, tomato. It's about, like, again, impact. Somebody said something, somebody did something. There was an event that two kids in college were looking forward to. Did Violent J and Shaggy Two Dope ever anticipate making friends because of it? No, that was because of my discussion that I decided to have with a group of people, and one kid stood up and said, fuck yeah. And because I was with him, we got to go into the concert before anybody else. They pulled us out of line, and we got to go to the barricade. And there was a bouncer there. It was really cool with my boy Steve, man, because Steve couldn't see. He was blind. And that bouncer, man, kept a 5-foot perimeter around him. Like, he'd reach and, like, push people back. Like, that guy looked out for Steve. You know what I'm saying, man? Like,
Oh yeah.
that was absolutely phenomenal. And, you know, did Jay and Shaggy ever get to hear that story? No. And it doesn't matter if they ever heard it or not. It was Steve and I. It was our story that we told people. That way it would make an impact. And that tattoo, every time somebody looks at it, I always tell them the story, man. And it always ends up in two ways. Somebody's either pissed off or they're bawling their eyes out. I can't tell you how many girls I've made cry because of that story. Like, oh, you listen to that music? Yeah, my dead best friend and I actually listen to that music, and this symbol represents our friendship. And then I tell them the story about how he had passed and everything else, and they cry. They walk away sobbing, and I'm fucking glad. I'm fucking glad. Fuck that. You want to try and make a judgment call now? You feel like a bitch? Yeah, walk. Like, I don't care. Like, There's so many girls, even my girl. She's like, if I'd seen that Hatchet Man tattoo, I probably would have never even had a conversation with you. I'm like, and you'd have been missing out on fucking 2 years of some of the best days of your fucking life.
Exactly.
I took my girl to the Murphy show out in New Hampshire. That was the first concert we ever attended. And it was an Irish festival. We camped out in the mountains of New Hampshire, a place she had never been. Had she been judgmental of my Hatchet Man tattoo, she'd have never experienced that. Because I'm going to tell you this, man. I'm the guy you want to go to a show with. I make sure that we mingle, we talk with people, we hang out. I went to a show, Public Image Limited, New York City. Because I am the way that I am, I met a 32-year-old girl at the age of 20, and she was dancing with me, man. We were making out and everything. She took bar hopping. I didn't have to drop a dime on anything, man. This chick hooked it up, and I met her at the show, not beforehand. Not, hey, I'm on like, this social media or whatever. No, man, it was person to person and face to face. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody does that anymore. Nobody has that kind of experience anymore. They're always glued to their phone at these things. Am I going to get video and pictures at Fright Fest? Believe I am, but I'm not going to be living behind that cell phone the whole damn time. Matter of fact, it'll probably end up being my girl that's taking the video of it, like she did for the Murphy show when I sang on stage with Al Barr, Ken Casey, and all those guys. But those videos will be shown. If that's what she wants to do for me, that's amazing. But I will never live my life through this device right here, ever. I've got to come up with a better schedule for my YouTube. I love communicating with people and voicing my opinion. It's a great outlet, but I will always talk to somebody. Always. It's the person at the grocery store. It's the person that's waiting in line at the DMV. It's the person I'm sitting next to on the bus on Greyhound. I will communicate with that person because we lost that. And it's funny too. You go and have a conversation with some of these people, like you just walk up, start talking to them. They act weird at first. At first, they're kind of like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like that same feeling you get when somebody knocks at your door. Back in the day, it was like, ooh, we have guests. Now, 20 years later, it's shit, someone's at the door. Cut the lights out. Can you see who it is? That's the world we live in now, man. Like, times have changed and we haven't adjusted to it. And my one rule is you adjust accordingly and do what makes you happy, of course. But when you adjust accordingly to situations, you don't panic like that. And nobody adjusts anymore. They hide. They don't need a safe space at college. They have theirs. It's the way they live their life constantly. Oh no, this person's wearing a shirt that I don't know what it means, so it could possibly be offensive. Wow, how are you breathing? How have you not been hunted down, gunned down, or anything? Like, how did you survive? And the thing is, that person is going to procreate. That should scare you.
Oh, it already does.
This is the point in our time, man, where we really need to see the apocalypse. When a meteor comes striking down, when we find out there's no more oil because we ran the wells dry, when the water's fucking surfaces up from the glaciers rising and plummeting and the temperature's going all nuts and there's haywire all over the place with all the weather and it wipes us out and Mother Nature decides to take its course, that'll be the most beautiful day on planet Earth since the Earth was created. Because we destroy, and I said this, we destroy everything that's in our path. We'll gun it down, we'll kill it, we'll gut it, we'll maim it, we'll eat it, we'll rape it, and it's okay. We've been that way since we funded this country when we took it from the Native Americans and pillaged them and create our own genocide so we could live in this glorious world that we live in now with tall skyscrapers, with billboards and promotions and television shows that are coming out next week. It's terrifying. I can't believe some of the ads that I'm hearing. I remember back in the day, ads were boring or they were informative. Now I'm on Pandora and I listen to some of these ads and I'm like, it caters to the populace. Like I feel bad for the people that watch this show, that go and do these things, that are like, oh, I heard this on my Pandora. Like it scares me. It frightens me. I listen to Pandora, nothing against it. Matter of fact, Pandora has introduced me to a whole bunch of new bands and I love it. But what really bothers me is that the way that people treat it, when it's like you realize that the companies and corporations are mocking you. They are speaking down to you. I said this, man, 5, 6, 7 years ago when I was doing my YouTube channel. I talked about this. It was George A. Romero, This is The Walking Dead. And I talked about all this, where we are constantly being mocked by corporations in commercials. They are insulting you. They feel like they have to speak down to you and make it bright and colorful and cheerful because you're too fucking stupid. And you're too stupid to realize it. That's what bothers me, man. You've got people that live next door to you that are sitting. There was a person driving around my neighborhood when I was about 23, 24 years old. All they did driving around in their car is they listened to like commercial jingles in their CD in their car, or they'd listen to like music from television shows. Like they had the George Lopez song go on, and then they drive by again, and it's another television. I'm like, that person scares me. Not a person with an M16, not a person with a Bible. That person terrifies me.
Yeah, it's a scary time we're living in, because I mean, especially, you know, with the uprise of, you know, the far left and far right groups. And you know, and I've been telling people, man, you know, like that's why, you know, my thoughts and condolences go out to the people in the Las Vegas shooting. But like, I was talking to a friend, and he's like, Sean, you don't really seem so surprised by this, bro. And I'm like, I'm not, dude. I'm apathetic to it. This kind of stuff happens every day. So forgive me if it just doesn't phase me. You know, but to correlate with that, you know, he's like, you know, we were talking this other time, and he's like, well, what do you think about, you know, when some of this like Antifa or other stuff goes down? I was like, bro, I was like, if you think it's getting bad now, I was like, it's gonna get worse. I was like, pretty soon. I was like, because people are ignorant and dumb. There's gonna be people bringing guns to these things. I was like, mark my words. I was like, there's gonna be shots fired at one of these things. I was like, whether it's Antifa people doing it, or Black Bloc, or some, you know, redneck Confederate,
I'm glad
you know, group.
I got a book coming out. It'll probably be sooner than I'd expected with everything that's been happening. But it talks about what you just said. Like eventually, there's going to be guns. It's going to come down to warfare. It's going to be coming down to a civil war. And this book is called Sid Jones Grains of Chaos, and it's how it escalates. It starts with a small incident blown out of proportion. Next thing you know, there's guns and lives being taken, and it's insane. But again, my not all my novels are fictitious. It's based off of probabilities, possibilities, statistics, and things that I've experienced myself. You know, a lot of it's hidden messages. A lot of it's homage to where I came from, the people that I know. It's like small little things that only one reader might be able to get. But I think about it for the masses. And the problem is, nobody seems to see it that way. Where, yeah, this thing happens all the time. It's going to escalate. It can only get worse, you know. I remember when we used to say, well, it can't get much worse. Before Donald Trump got elected, it can't get much worse. I'm like, hold your breath. Hang tight. It's going to be a bumpy ride. You know, with the whole Las Vegas thing, man, yeah, I feel bad for the families. But like I had said, the victims have perished. They're not the ones that got to deal with the burden anymore. You know, now it's these people that are standing on their corpses, basically using them as a soapbox, which I had said in my previous video. And I still stand by that. It's not that I'm saying it's okay that this happened. I'm saying expect it to happen. However, they can't live their lives anymore. They're done. They're gone. They're perished. You know, they have joined the dearly departed. And this is how people treat it. Oh, we need to ban guns. So now I'm going to rally up a bunch of people. So you're going to stand on your relatives, on your loved ones, and your friends and family, so you can have a soapbox to speak on both sides. It's the NRA and it's the anti-gun people that are doing the same thing. That to me, I despise more than anything, is when you use a situation like that to peddle your propaganda, to propagate, and to sit there and lecture me, when really you should probably be grieving right now instead of telling me what I should do with my shotgun that I've got. Well, you should tell me with whatever it is I'm doing. I'm surprised they didn't blame music. I'm really shocked. I
Yeah.
was expecting it, but because it was a country music festival, you know, you're talking about fearing death and whatnot. If you listen to Johnny Cash's later music before he went, he actually talked about a lot about death and how I felt like he was convincing himself that it's going to be okay, that he was actually scared of death. You know, he even did a cover of Tom Petty's, Won't Back Down. And, it's just, it's hard to think when you're going to something like this, you realize your life is at risk every single day. Our parents said it to us. Crossing that street could be the last time we ever see you. That's why they told us don't cross the street without looking both ways and shit like that. You know, simple things to teach us to survive. And now our parents are throwing their hands up going, oh, we don't know. This is not the generation we hope for. Problem is, this next generation, we raised it. And guess what? We did a bang up job, didn't we? Shit, man, we're fucked. This next generation, oh man, you better hope there's an apocalypse. This is going to be something seismic and so much worse on a catastrophic level that we're not going to be able to comprehend or fathom. And it's going to be this generation that suffers for it because we did a shit job at raising them.
Oh, exactly. I mean, myself, I guess what bugs me with that whole ordeal is just it's just the rampant, like, people drinking the conspiracy Kool-Aid shit right now. I love all the people that are just, like, buying into whatever left and right saying, and nobody's thinking for themselves, and it's just, like, I just can't stand it. It's like, come on, like, why can't it really just be as simple as, some dude, flipped his shit, fucking, because we live in a gun happy America, owned a bunch of guns, and like, everybody's focused on, well, how did he get them? Fuck how he got them. Point is, he had them. And yeah, and so he went and did what he did, and I just love that, everybody wants to everybody's so happy to just jump on whatever train, like, the sheep want to jump on, and be like, well, I'm gonna listen to this friend of mine or this newscast, and I'm gonna believe this bullshit just because, and it's like, I've told people, like, yeah, you want to believe this bullshit, and you want to believe this bullshit because guess what? If you knew the real truth behind the situation, and I say this about 9/11 too, I was like, you know what? There's the reason the government gives you a prefabricated story, because if you learn the real truth, the real truth would fuck you up so much you wouldn't know what to fucking do.
Oh, amen, brother. There's a book called The Fourth Reich. And I've talked about this book a couple of times. It's written by Jim Morris. He's considered a black label book. You can get blacklisted for it. And he basically said the reason why the government will never tell us about it is because look at what happened with the War of the Worlds played on the radio. People committed suicide. They thought that it was a real transmission. It was a real thing happening. They didn't realize that it was fiction, and they lost their minds. And the government's afraid that that same kind of cataclysmic event would happen. You got to look at it like this, man. People are too stupid, and when they do find the truth, it will scare them. And I think that's why people hang on to fiction so much. I hear this a lot. Fiction is my escape from the real world. Yeah, but when you put that book down, you got bills to pay. When you finish watching that 2-hour movie, you've got a fucking garbage can that's ready to go outside to get tossed away. You have to at some point realize that you can't escape the real world. Every moment of every day, you got to be a realist about it, and you got to face it every day. I make my decisions based off of reality, not based off of what would this person do. I honestly think that a lot of people in this world have this mentality of like, if I don't see it, it doesn't exist, which is a tragedy, but it's the best way for them to survive. They just want to make it to the next day and whatnot. I'm like, what are you going to do in the meantime? You stress about it? You worry about it? Maybe you should go get that shit done. Work on whatever it is you need to work on and be able to handle things the way you see fit in your personal life. I deal with so much hate on the internet, which I don't even know what caused it to happen. I mean, there's just people that shit on me about my vest, my hair. I get the Gary Oldman thing all the time from Fifth Element, which I think is more of a compliment than anything because that was one of Gary Oldman's best performances. It was a great fucking movie. And it baffles me. Like, people like, let the Juggalos say it. Jay said it at the march. We are accepting of everybody. I got a complete comment section that disproves that, boss. Like, you fucking lied. Like, you are either clueless or choose to be clueless, or you have selective vision. Because from where I'm sitting at, I've got death threats when I go to Detroit on October 30th. That could be the last time I see a show in my life. I could walk out of that place and there could be a machine gun pointed right at me from a non-violent, non-gang member who just listens to music. And let me die a martyr to prove them wrong and to put them back on the gang list. Let that happen. Let that happen. Let it be known that these are violent people. Even though they say we're not violent, completely accepting. Until you question us, and that doesn't sound like fascism to you, got it. Cool. Awesome. So I deal with that on a regular basis. And the way I see it is, let's say that does happen. Let's say I go to a store. Every time I see somebody with a hatchet, man, I try and walk the other way. Because I'm not sure if that person's going to try and stab me, maim me, whatever. Beat me with a pan. I don't know. But I got to live like that, constantly looking over my shoulder. But I live with it. I accept it. I chose my words very carefully, accepted the consequences for it. And that's how I chose to live. And then they wonder why. I'm like, you know what? It was because of the juggalos that I actually discovered Magic Ninja Entertainment in the first place. That I discovered all this new music because you guys are talking so much shit. I had to know out of morbid curiosity because I'm not going to just take your word for it. And come to find out, they got some of the best music that I'd ever seen. It's phenomenal music. And then I find out that Gordy and Bizarre, after all these years of doing projects together, features, doing ciphers, they are now officially a duo. And MNE signed them. Where can I get like 5 tickets to that? I was asking for that when I bought my ticket to the Twist show, which I was going to go to just to like document, you know, the difference between juggalos and them. Oh shit, my phone's dying. But what I ended up doing was I got those tickets for that reason. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting there like, wait a minute, can Lars be at that Detroit show? And sure as shit, man, 3 weeks ago I found out Lars was going to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to check my phone, boss. I apologize. I'm not hanging up on you. I'm going to give this.
I mean, I look at it like this, dude. See, and that's why I said what I said. You know what? I don't, Joe Bruce ain't my leader. I'm a juggalo for myself, and I really wish more juggalos would think that way. That's why it's like, that's why I've had, that's why when I was telling a juggalo I was gonna have this conversation with you, he got kind of uppity, and I was like, here's the thing though, bro. I was like, I got all the respect in the world for Sid Jones. I was like, if he wants to have the opposite opinion on me on certain juggalo matters, especially, the march, I was like, that's fine. He's being a free thinker. He's being what you're not being. I was like, I have much more respect for him than I do you right now. I was like, because you're just a sheep sucking on Joe Bruce's dick, fucking doing whatever he tells you to do. I was like, here's the thing though. I was like, here's how I learned, what from being I was I was fortunate. I learned from a class of juggalos that actually I would say knew, the better parts of what you really, how you should really conduct yourself as one. I was like, are there rules and guidelines? No, I don't want to stir some shit up. I was like, but do I kind of see that there are guidelines? A few, kind of, yeah. The ones I was taught was, you love the fam, you respect the fam, listen to the music. I know you don't have to, but I kind of don't see the point if you don't. And then number 1, be yourself. That was the thing that was pushed with me the most. Being a juggalo isn't about being in the mainstream. It's about thinking for yourself. And unfortunately, like you said, we got a lot of these juggalos that they're either 17%ers or they're Twizzlers and they're not thinking for themselves. And unfortunately, yeah, those people, they're coming at you in ignorant ways. And that's why I don't associate myself anymore with, just putting myself to, oh, well, I'm just going to follow just what Twisted says or just what Violent J or Shaggy says. No, I'm done with that. I've always been a juggalo for myself. I always am. My whole thing with the marches is this. I looked at it as people came together, even if it was for that day, and marched together and showed. I mean, whether I do agree with you, maybe they look stupid. I think Jay's speech was kind of stupid. There was some stupid stuff in it. I don't disagree with that. I mean, for the most part, I actually do agree with a lot of what you and Chuck are saying. But my whole thing is this. That day in front of the whole press and everything, they showed they can be nonviolent individuals. They went to go show, like, yeah, do I think you're correct? Do I think there are bad apples out there in the group that make juggalos look bad? Yes, I do. But for that one day, those people got together and showed America that they're not, that for the most part, most juggalos aren't these like violent, chaotic, gang-like people.
Well, I don't have any qualms with them marching. I said that I stood with them. Problem is that the only problem that I had was how they handled it. The entire world was watching. You had the opportunity to say something intelligent. You had the opportunity to show them that you are, in fact, somewhat sophisticated, that you have some sort of idea and some sort of grasp on what's happening. But you didn't show that. You had one chance and you fucked it completely. I don't know how they and again, I don't retract anything I said in that video. There's nothing I have said that I'm like, I apologize for saying this. Minus my whole thing with Chuck, because I found out that him and I aren't so different, and we had a misunderstanding when he was claiming New England. I'm like, but you don't claim Murphy's, dude. Like, don't even fuck with me on that. Like, I'm a punk rock guy. You are not. He was, oh no, I meant hip hop. I'm like, clearly we got off on the wrong foot, so let's start over. That kind of thing. You know what I mean? But what bothers me the most is the march wasn't taken seriously at all. And I even said it. I'm like, I had high hopes that they would say, okay, the things that we say to each other, we keep between us. The media is going to be there. We know the media is going to be there. Let's not say those things that we say within our community out loud and just show the world how intelligent we are. I would have stolen a plane and flown to DC had somebody had come up with that, but they had no plan, and I started getting nervous. And I'm like, if I go there, it's going to be bad. Like, I'm just going to end up leaving. Like, I'm going to go there, hearing what these people are saying, not being intelligent about it. Like, there was somebody else. She was wearing a Hatchet Man necklace, and I was like, oh, shit, she's going to knife me. I just know it. So I was like, what's up? She sees my Hatchet Man tattoo, and I was expecting it, man. I was expecting the whoop whoop. And she goes, how you doing? I'm like, oh, shit, she's human. She's got a brain. Thank fuck. So I was like, so did you end up going to the march? She's like, no, and I'm glad I didn't. And I went, oh, I'm not going to die today. And I went, so what was your opinion on it? And she goes, they were stupid about it. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Like, dude, I see a Hatchet Man. I see an enemy. And it was never used to be that way. Like, it was supposed to be like this brethren thing. And then I see these people that come in wherever I'm at, the grocery store, the gas station, wherever. Like, there was this one, she whooped at me, and she wasn't even wearing shoes inside the gas station.
Oh,
I'm like,
jeez.
that's not. You stopped associating, because I feel like that the music had catered to the lowest common denominator, which had actually then turned out to be the majority, which frightened me, which is why I said it's not the 17%, it's the 83% that scares the shit out of me. Then on top of all that, I kept getting death threats. I wanted to go, but why stand and march with people who bully me? That's one of the things that bothered me the most, is that I'm here. I stood up for them, gave this huge, like, what I thought was a great speech, you know, on CPN's thing. And they still mocked me for my vest. And I'm like, and I'm going to go and defend you guys. I've got experience in that kind of arena. Two, protesting is something I live for. Like, and you're going to take that guy and shun him. It makes as much sense as the Christians who are against homosexuals, but who has less abortions than homosexuals. I don't understand. They should be a team, but they're not. And it's that same kind of logic where it's like, no, you don't understand. And then when I found out that Great Lakes Antifa actually was there, they had their signs showing their love, and there's pictures of them taken with the juggalos, and there's still juggalos that are like, they were disappointed that they didn't get the reaction they wanted. So they were just like, no, fuck Antifa and all this other shit. And I'm like, but you realize that if there was, let's say 10,000, let's just say there was 10,000, you would have to minus whoever those Antifa people were and subtract them. So therefore your number dwindles, not significantly, but enough for it to not be that 10,000. Let's call it 9,990. Okay. So you no longer get that 10,000 call. If you're not going to claim that they were there to support you and that they were there and just to start shit or whatever, or you're not impressed that they were there because they are not your kind of people, to the people that are fucking what, the bottom of the barrel, the fucking cesspool. Jesus Christ. You know, Gordy speaks a lot of good about Violent J. I've never heard that. Matter of fact, he did an interview with Fago Lovers. I think it was Fago Lovers. I can't remember, but he did an interview with somebody, and he said, I would put Violent J at the helm of horrorcore. You know, I would put Brother Lynch and Isham in that same fucking thing. He never said a bad thing about Bruce and these people shitting all over Gordy. The reason why they shit all over Gordy is because he wasn't signed to Psy. Instead, he was signed to MNE. And I said this to Gordy. I tweeted him this. I said, you could talk about the best label that ever existed. You could talk about the greatest lineup. You could talk about MNE. The point is, it's not the label. Without the artists, you have no label. And without those artists, you have no fans. Therefore, you file Chapter 17 and you walk. That's what's fucked up to me. And the fact that it's an allegiance thing now, you know what I mean? It's pleading for like this sort of attention. It's pleading for, you know, oh, this is my record label. This is mine. How about not just supporting like the artists and shit and their choices they make as individuals? You know what I mean? Gordy got shot 5 times. He left horrorcore. And he even said in his interview, I left. And then I was actually working for Juggalo News when I got a message from Mars and he said, I need you to do a speculation article that Gordy is coming back to horrorcore. I'm like, that's touch and go, bro. Like, I got love for Gordy. Like, I don't put that on him and be responsible for that. And he's like, no, I'm insisting that you do this video. And I'm like, dude, that could have been made before he got shot and they just delayed whatever. I'm not gonna, and I did it. And you can tell that my whole heart was not in that article. And I did not realize Gordy was making a comeback, that he was even doing anything until he was featured on Real Wolf Goons. When I heard that verse, my dick got hard and my heart raced and my adrenaline pumped. The hair on my arm stood up. I had never, ever had that kind of mind-blowing sensation. And the verse that he dropped was like he didn't lose it at all. Like you'd think being gone for years that he would have lost his touch somewhere down the line, but he didn't. And the fact that now he's doing something with Bizarre again, as if nothing happened. And he's like, yeah, I questioned it. I questioned if it was my music that got me shot, if it was karma. He said it in his interview. And I'm like, that man deserves more respect than any music artist to date for what they've been through and suffered through. You know, we've heard the tragedies of Sid Vicious. We've heard the tragedies of Cheap Sex. We've heard the tragedies of many other music artists that have been shot and killed, you know. But for Gordy to come back and not do like what was the guitarist? Was it Korn who went Christian? I'm sure it happened with other metal bands. But for Gordy to just come back with that verse, I don't know if you listen to Real Wolf Goons, but you are fucking missing out. Because when he heard that, when I saw he was going to be featured in it, so I wasn't surprised. But to hear him when the guy goes, I'm fucking the bitch's face while listening to King Gordy and Merciful Fate, and he turns and out comes Gordy from behind him, and he starts going off. The opening line is hysterical. Y'all act like you never seen a fat person before. I'm with your Wi-Fi with Wi-Fi searching for porn. I'm like, he's back. Gordy, holy shit. Fuck. And then like as it goes on and on. Dude, I will never forget the night that I had discovered Real Wolf Goons. I reviewed it. And dude, I just words couldn't describe it. Gordy's verse every single time. My first introduction to Gordy doing ciphers with Real Wolf was other than Justin Bieber, which was actually a Real Wolf thing, by the way. A lot of people don't know that. But it was Real Wolf Underground. And it featured Tech Nine, Vinny Paz, was it Ill Bill and Bizarre, Gordy, Slane, like just an amazing lineup. Sid from Slipknot, who's also big in Real Wolf. Like it just blows my mind every time I hear that song. And when my boy introduced me to it, I was like, man, there's got to be other projects with Gordy and Bizarre. Like there's just paralleled each other. And that's when I discovered more of his music. I discovered Gordy through my buddy Joey, who actually did that. And dude, that guy, it's just insane to me that a man can spew that kind of stuff. Like the one, what is it? This World, I think is what it's called, where he's talking about fucking his sister. Like that's hysterical. Like that's just so dark. Like it's not hysterical like you laugh. It's hysterical as in your jaw just bounced off the floor and came back up and then it drops again. It's that it's shock rock times 10. And he even said it in his interview, I'm a rock star. And I'm pretty sure that was before Lars was even officially announced, but when he kept saying that, I'm like, oh, after I'd found out about Lars, I'm like, man, you were like trying not to talk about Last American Rock Stars. Like you were doing everything you could not to bring that up. And for him to be like, yeah, it was Bizarre's idea to do the Justin Bieber song, and Bizarre doing his whole thing with Bill Cosby. Dude, if you've not listened to Bill Cosby from fucking Bizarre, oh man, what a great song. Like it's classy. It's art. It's very sophisticated. It's hysterical. I fucking love it. So when I found out those two had officially created a duo, as I said it before, it's like seeing your two best friends hanging out all the time, and you're like, eventually they're going to be together. And like 15 years later, they're finally getting married and shit. Like it's that same fucking like, fuck yes, like it's bound to happen. I can't take a breath. But yeah, I don't blame anyone who leaves a label that is known for not paying people or artists either. And I don't blame artists for leaving for whatever reason they want to. I continue to support that artist. The reason why they stopped liking Twisted was because of the march. And if they would actually try and like keep to their guns about that, they would realize that it wasn't just them that didn't show up. There was no Vampire. We saw no Brother Lynch Hung, no other artists except for ICP and maybe a few others. But we didn't see those people that said, yeah, I'm going to fucking be there. And then people shat all over Necro too. I love it. When I was hearing about how Necro decided not to tour with ICP, dude, I would have paid $50 just to see Necro. And then I would have pieced out because Necro is a genius in of himself. But for it to come down to that, where it's like, it's not even he wouldn't make a profit. He was basically going to lose money by doing this because they weren't paying him enough. And then you've got people that are pissed off at Necro because he's not touring with ICP. He's not one of us. And it's that same fucking banter. And it's not even just that, man. It's the same thing with Gordy. If he'd have been signed to Psychopathic Records, they'd be singing a whole nother fucking tune.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it like this. I mean, am I kind of disappointed that Twisted didn't because they have Juggalo fans? Yeah, but because I can think for myself and all that, I understand like they're trying to get away from, you know, they're trying to get away from the ills to the name that goes along with the name Juggalo, and I understand that. Like I can understand that, you know, they're trying to, you know, they moved on and made their own company, and I really wish people would get this. Like I wish people would stop being butthurt. Like Twisted had valid reasons to leave, and it's like, people, please do your research before you just want to just, you know, ride Jay's dick, and you know, for whatever reason, like do your research. The research is out there to be done. You can find out legitimately why Twisted left. I did that research. That's why I'm not mad at Twisted. I mean, to be fair, like everybody's like, oh well Sean, you're a Twizzler because you just listen to MNE now and all that. No, I still listen to ICP. Do I care for Light? No, I actually don't like Light. I really don't care for a lot of what Big Hoodoo has done, and I think Ouija Mac is hot garbage. I guess to each their own. I didn't leave, like, I haven't left Psy. I still support Psy. Do I like a lot of ICP's old music? Yeah, I do. And do I like a few of their newer songs? Like, I liked a few songs off of Lost. I thought Found was hot garbage because I'm an atheist, and that was basically them taking, shots at atheists in that whole CD. If you can't read between the lines.
What I strongly stand with, and what people I think forget, is that these superstars, as amazing as they are, with the talent, they've got more talent in the tip of their pinky nail than I will ever see in my entire life. And they are individuals. People forget that. They're people. They're humans. They have the right to make their decisions for whatever reason. And the fact that Twisted came out and gave the explanation and they said, know what you're marching for. Like, they didn't say what they were marching for or state that. That was something that was interpreted by big name YouTubers that shoved words in their mouths. What they said was, know what you're marching for. Do it for you. Do it for what cause. But we're not going to be there. We support you going. That should have been enough.
Exactly.
That to me, it was like, man, that fuck. I mean, it sucks you're not going to be there. Like that was like, it was, again, kind of like that whole nostalgia. Like, damn, man, like that would have been really cool to see you guys doing that. And at first, I was kind of like, you know what, I'm bummed out. But then I was like, you know what, they made a decision, and they're not impeding on my decision to go or not go. They just simply told me, know what you're marching for. Like, how crazy is it that they talk to people in their interviews? Gordy, same way. Twist, same way. As individuals. Meanwhile, you've got Shaggy, Two Dope, and Violent J that address the audience as a wide group, and nobody can say, yeah, no, I took that personally, because they're just talking out their ass to the widespread of their fans that pay their money. They're not like, that's the thing. When they said we are gonna do it, you're more than welcome to do it. We need you to go. We've got artists that are gonna go. Why do you need artists? Like, if it's a political cause, you're doing the same thing that the Republicans bitch about the liberals doing, where they're like, oh, you're using celebrities to peddle your thing. But I'm like, don't you guys have Ted Nugent? And like, it wishy-washy with him too. He's not political. It's just music. I'm just a rock star. I'm just saying things that are controversial. But you're still welcome at the rallies. And they don't say boo. I mean, look at all the people that he's backed. John McCain. He's backed several other politicians that were extremely Republican. He backed Donald Trump. Donald Trump was smart to keep Ted Nugent away from him, though. Smart man. I mean, they both have things in common, though, I'm sure. Fucking 13-year-old girls and shit. But it's the same thing. But again, it's that we are no longer an oligarchy or a democracy. We are a hypocrisy. And it boils down to that, whether it's music, whether it's politics, man. Like I said, there's juggalos out there I got nothing but love for and respect for. Did I upset them? I'm sure I did. I know I did. I can read. And there's been no bad blood or threats coming from them. As much as there's this distance between us where it's like, look, man, we just need time away from each other. You know what I mean? Which I totally get, because I say things that are very outlandish and controversial, and I just don't care. Trust me, my mouth has gotten me in more trouble than anything else that I've ever done in my life. My words get me in more trouble than my actions do. And that's simply because I'm an individual. I respect me as an individual. Therefore, I will respect others as an individual. It's like that golden rule, not the one that you're thinking. The one with, you must love yourself before you can love another. And I think that that's where people are lacking. They don't love themselves anymore. They have to put on these products. It's like what Marilyn Manson said. You have to get the acne cream or the girls won't fuck you. You have to get the crest or your breath is going to stink and the girls won't fuck you. It was that interview that he did in Bowling for Columbine. One of the greatest documentaries, by the way. I loved it. As much as some of it might have been played out or whatever, some of it might have been written and scripted and whatnot. It's the idea of it. And you can't sit there and say that Marilyn Manson was reading off the script written by Michael Moore. Marilyn Manson would have crumpled that up and thrown it in his face. But what he had said, the part that I really loved was, what would you say to the kids that shot up Columbine if they were here today? And he said, I wouldn't say a fucking thing. I'd listen to what they had to say because that's what nobody else did. And when I heard that as a kid, in high school, by the way, I watched that as a freshman in high school in the mountains of New Hampshire. And I said, you know what? If I listen to people, hear them out, talk with them, maybe have a discussion with them, let them know somebody out there is interested in what they have to say, maybe they won't kill anybody, or at least they won't kill me. You know, there was this kid in high school when I moved out to Michigan. He had a trench coat, crazy guy. And kids were nice to him because they were always afraid he'd shoot up the school. That's what they'd say. And I said, man, I love your trench coat. And I said, I got one too. I'll bring mine in. And I did. I wore my trench coat. And we walked around together. We talked. We hung out. We listened to each other's music. He didn't much care for mine, which was fine. But he introduced me to some cool bands, such as Sabaton and Powerwolf. Like, those are good bands. He introduced me to other metal bands, too, that were very abstract and very underground that I didn't much care for. But he did introduce me to some of the bands that I still listen to that I have Pandora stations for to this day. And I remember I was looking out the bus one day, and this kid was grabbing some girl's wrist or whatever, and he just walks up to him, just quiet, just standing there, like frozen. I'm like, oh, this dude's going to get his ass kicked. Nope. Dude in a trench coat beat the shit out of the kid. He got suspended for 2 days. When he came back, I walked up to him, I shook his hand, I said, I saw what you did, and I'm fucking proud of you. I am grateful that you did that. I'm sorry you got suspended for it. He goes, I got to listen to my music and play video games. I'm like, I'm fucking proud of you for doing that. And I hope you do it again. If you ever see that shit, man, I got your back. And we'll tag team him. We'll fucking beat the shit out of him. Like, that's that kid. And that kid moved. I don't know what is of him. But I'd like to think that little conversation that he's talking to somebody about that. You know, I bumped into this one kid. I hadn't seen this kid in about 10 years. He was my partner in marketing class for one project. And I see him. And I'm like, dude, I have been talking about you. Like, he wasn't like a best friend of mine. He wasn't like a close buddy of mine, but I was so proud of this marketing project we had done. I said, man, I tell that story to everybody. And he goes, the marketing project that we did with the energy drink. I'm like, yes. And he goes, dude, I haven't thought about that in years. But the point is, I mentioned it to him when I saw him. So now he probably walked away having a better day than what he had done. It is up to us as individuals to try and make the world a better place. If not for the person in Kuwait, North Korea, and Syria, for the person next door, for the person down the street, by not even just having to give them bread and butter, but just by giving them maybe a moment of your time to hear what they have to say, maybe there would be less suicides. Maybe there would be less mass murders. Maybe that guy that shot up Las Vegas, maybe he did it because he knew somebody that was there that had done him harm. And he said, when he was 14 years old, when I'm 60, I'm going to kill that kid and everyone who's in his vicinity. And when he turned 60, he probably went and did it. Who knows? But the point is, compassion tends to lessen that. Not guns, not politics, not restrictions, but just sheer compassion of, hey, how you doing today? I want to talk to you for a little bit. I like your shirt. Something positive to say about somebody else. That might sound very hippie. That might sound very liberal. But the point is, you do that, you might save somebody from slitting their own throat. You might save somebody from hanging themselves. You might save somebody from just having a bad day. Because not only is chaos important to everybody, and for you to be that chaotic person, because in their life, it's just circumnavigating the same damn thing all the damn time, man. They're in that fucking circle constantly, just spinning and spinning and spinning. And suddenly somebody walks up and just asks them how their day is. That whole fucking circle just shattered. Their sphere that they were in just broke. And when you tear down those bricks and you take that away from them and you give them the opportunity to say what's on their mind and you listen to them, maybe offer them some words of comfort, maybe offer them a band to listen to, maybe you just help that band get some $20 because they decided they love that band so much they had to go get that t-shirt. The little that you do goes a long way. We were taught that as kids and we lost it somewhere down the line. That's why our next generation is fucked. There's one thing I can say on this platform for people to listen to. It's try and do the right thing for yourself. In the meantime, try not to kill somebody in the process. You don't have to maim and shoot and slaughter everything that's in your wake to be happy, I assure you. But that's the way that we live. And it's not even just that. It's the way that we're taught. It's the way that we are in school, and it's the way that we are when it comes down to corporations. You got to slit your friend's throat that you work with 9 to 5 every single day for 20 years in order to get that promotion. You have to beat them down into the fucking pavement to get a step ahead. And it's the way we treat animals too, and everything else that's in our wake. And it's a tragedy. Maybe that little bit of compassion, taking a break from that for a minute, it's not going to save the world, but it's going to change one person's life and quite possibly their perspective. I'm not a cold-blooded prick. I'm an asshole, but I have compassion for the person next to me. And that's why I was offering to go to the march. That's why I was offering to hear the other side and to be there. And in that moment, all the hatred that I have in the world, all that anger that I have, I've got music like Lars. I've got music like Twisted. I've got my punk rock. Man, I've been listening to fucking dark country music. Like I'm talking like Robert Loxley and shit like that, like Barnes Courtney, shit like that, where it's just like that outlaw country music. Like I just randomly got into that kind of music. Powerwolf, Sabaton. You know, there's so many bands out there that people could listen to. So when it's like when they're angry, instead of having to chunk a fist up and fucking beat somebody, they can go and listen to that music and just channel out and listen and just be like, yeah, now I'm fine. It's almost like a 15, 20-minute workout. You sweat it out of you. You fucking do what you got to do. And then when it comes up to the person next to you, instead of being a dick to that 80-year-old woman who's done nothing wrong to you ever, instead of telling her to fucking move faster in the line, maybe you can just ask her how she's doing. And she might crack a joke that you would not even expect. She might have something to say that could teach you something. If there's anything that I can tell people, it's to be open-minded about what somebody else says and listen closely and listen. Listen. Don't speak. You listen. Because when you do that, you're giving that person who feels like they never had a voice a chance to speak.
Yeah, I mean, like that's why it's like, you know, that's why like that's why one of my biggest emphasis when I made my video on the blunt atheist about the shooting was I'm more than sure, like, yeah, I got out what I needed to get, but my biggest emphasis was, you know, the whole mental health issue. You know, the guns are always going to be there. The people got easy access to the guns. What I feel people don't have the easiest access to is the mental health care. And it's not to say it's not there. It's out there. But I just, like I said in the video, I hate that there's whether there's the stigma could be with your family or who you're with, or, you know, society. You know, I know there's people out that they're afraid to reach out and get that crucial help because they're afraid of what one of those, you know, many facets is going to think about them or say. And that's why I wanted to focus so heavily on that. That's why, you know, just like you said, that's why I even said, you know what? I don't even care. Hit me up on my YouTube. I got a public figure page. You know, find me in whatever way you want. You want somebody to talk to or just somebody to listen to what you're saying? Shit, I'm here. And I'm with you there. I'm with you there 100%. Like I so wish people would, you know, just reach out to their fellow human beings more, because I 100% agree with you. Yeah, can what you say, would it have a world impact or an impact to a whole country or state or city? Maybe not, no. But if you could do, you know, some good, or just talk to somebody, you know, and let them know, you know, they're not alone in the world, even if it's just for 5 minutes. That, you know, it's a ripple effect. A drop of water could ripple, and you never know, like, what that could do for somebody, you know, to brighten their day, or just, you know, maybe to keep them away from those dark thoughts they might be thinking. Because unfortunately, you know, like I just said, you know, people, you know, for whatever reason, people, they're just, you know, they're so, you know, they're scared, or they're just, you know, they're timid to go and seek either that, or like I said, like, you know, there's people, unfortunately, like if you're educated like me, you know, you know that sometimes, like, you might, you know, and that's the problem too, is like most of the time, what's the shrink gonna tell you? Oh, we want to put you on some pills. And, you know, and that's not good either, because, you know, these pills most of the time, that's why I'm not a big pharmaceutical person myself. Like, You know, that's why I'm a big pro advocate for the legalization, of marijuana. Like marijuana can go to help and cure a lot of what there is out there for pharmaceuticals right now, and with way, way, way less of the side effects. I get some people are timid and shy that they, maybe the answer is like, okay, maybe I'd want to seek the help, but I really don't want to fuck with these pills because I see these commercials on TV and they're like, well, it might help you with this or that, but you also might shit your pants and bleed out, or, 10 different things that are, 5 times worse than what it's trying to help you with. And I just feel it's so unfortunate and fucked up that it's like, I hate that. That's the thing I try to push when things like this happen, is it's like, you know what? I bet at the end of the day, that dude was mentally unhealthy in some type of way. And whether it was society or his family or whatever, like you said, I don't think anybody went up to him that day and said, you know what, dude, just had some like little conversation with him. Because who knows, just like you said, who knows what type of impact that might have had. Maybe somebody might have walked up to him that day and have been, actually left him with a good word that day. And then maybe he wouldn't have done what he did.
Well, man, like you were saying about prescriptions and shit, and this is something to consider. Antidepressants give you suicidal thoughts. Give you will actually, like, my girl was telling me this. There's actually this thing where they gave antidepressants to shrimp, and the shrimp would kill themselves. It was going from the oceans from us to these shrimp, and they would commit suicide. But here's the other thing too. The guy who shot up the theater, the Batman, the Dark Knight shooting, the guy who shot up that school in Connecticut, I think it was it Connecticut? And maybe it was North Carolina. It was one of those. And then there was the Sandy Hook shooting, the Columbine shooting. All the shooters were on prescription medications, and the one they were all on was a drug that they tried getting me to take, which I never took, which was Paxil. Which I found out through my buddy Steve, that you're not even supposed to take solo. You're actually supposed to take Paxil with something else. It's like a sister drug or something like that. It's to like basically balance out everything. That's all that Paxil does. So to just have that, I can't imagine what that would do to your body, your blood, your hormones, or whatever. Especially at a young age, it makes me nervous that the company is so quick to do this, and these could be the possible reasons why somebody is having a fucking heyday, and their brain goes absolutely bananas, and they go and kill themselves. And it offsets that. It takes away that. If you've ever seen the movie Bang Bang You're Dead, kid built a perfect bomb, but there was no explosive in it. And the teacher asked him, why did you build the perfect bomb and didn't make it so it was an explosive? And he goes, let's call it X. You did not have X. So let's say they did not have X, or they showed symptoms of quite possibly having X, but then the pills put that in their head to go and do that. So if you take the mental health that we've got, it's cheaper to give a pill than lifetime treatment. That's why chemotherapy is expensive. However, don't expect a long life expectancy because of it. There's so many different things that companies do to make money, even if it's for a short amount of time. If they can get you on $300 of a bottle to do that, then fine. That benefits them, We still on? I think he went away. I think there was a hang up.
I don't know. I haven't been able to watch it for the last like 45 minutes. It said something, but you guys were supposed to watch it.
You there, dude? I think our internet jacked up. Yeah, no, it ended, I think. No, it still says ongoing call.
No, I can hear you.
Where's Blunt Atheist? So welcome to the Sid Jones channel, guys. This has been temporarily hijacked, so we're going to discuss a couple of other things that might be on your mind. I can't see the chat box, so I apologize for that. So welcome to the Sid Jones channel, guys. This has been temporarily hijacked, so we're going to discuss. All right, so we seem to be having some technical difficulties. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's been great. We'll talk more about mental health and things like that on my channel. Make sure you subscribe to Blunt Atheist channel and also to this podcast channel. And I got another video coming up next week. And don't forget to check out Fright Fest, which is going to be in Detroit. So make sure you at least look into that. Might be worth your travels. Tickets are still pretty cheap. And if you see me there, we'll hang out, maybe grab some drinks, shit like that. But with that being said, my name is Sid Jones. And as always, fuck what you think.
Yeah, I could hear you, but I couldn't.
Are we back? Are we back? Well, let's go have a cigarette while we wait on Blunt Atheist. So I heard a funny joke, guys, while we went on Blunt Atheist. I thought it was pretty funny anyway. It was, what's the difference between cutting an onion and cutting a whore? I cry when I cut onions. I thought that was funny. That's a Doomhead joke from 31 from Rob Zombie. Great movie, by the way. So I don't know what's going on with this. So I sincerely apologize. Everything seems to be working fine on my end. So this was a little garbled. But anyway, it's been good seeing you guys and such. Oh, wait. Yeah, looks like he left his call.